Recording in progress.
Morning, Baba. I'm just checking to hear whether I'm audible. If you could let me know, please. Thank you.
Morning, colleague. Yes, you're audible, colleague. Clear. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, Baba, I didn't hear. I don't. If you could just indicate again. Not sure whether my audio is not coming through. Thank you.
You are audible, colleague. You are clear. Can you hear me that side?
I don't have any audio. I'll just try to log off and log on again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, colleague.
Baba, I'm trying again. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. I can hear you, colleague. Do you hear me?
I have no audio coming through. Okay, I'll have to try something. What the issue is on my side. Do you want to try again, Baba, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good morning, honourable members of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. It is now exactly 10 o'clock and it is time for us to start our meeting. I want to firstly apologise about the confusion around the starting time. We had circulated two agendas, one indicating 9 and one indicating 10 o'clock, and I wish to apologise for that. We will make sure that doesn't happen in future. Honourable members, I welcome you back from your constituency week and your very busy week that you had in the National Assembly last week. This morning, we start the formal work of appointing the internal processes to appoint a new National Youth Development Agency board. As we know, youth unemployment is a national crisis in South Africa. Almost half of young people in our country are either jobless or hopeless, and the work that we will embark on will be a pivotal work that this committee will have to undertake. So really this morning we start the internal processes to look at all the applications that we have received, to get our ducks in a row as a committee in terms of how we will process all of the applications. The deadline was last night at midnight. We've received about 1,479 applications. I wish to also welcome all our support staff this morning in the meeting, all honourable members. I wish to welcome our guests, in particular Dr Tembe from Parliamentary Legal Services that will be joining us later. I wish to welcome all South Africans that are following us on the various social media platforms this morning. I would also like to make an announcement. We received an ATC last night that Honourable Totsetsi of the African National Congress has been appointed a permanent member to this portfolio committee. We would like to welcome him if he's on the platform, and also just to say that we look forward to all of his contributions. As of today, we've got a new acting committee secretary in the form of Mr. Mvaba Mdumizweni. We also welcome, although Mvaba is not new to us, we do welcome him into this new role and into his new responsibilities. Mr. Mdumizweni, you've got the agenda up for us. Honourable members, we will start. I've already welcomed you this morning. We've opened the meeting. We will then table the apologies. We've had to make small amendments to the programme. You'll see we've moved the minutes and the consideration of the programme towards the end. So we will start with feedback on the Sanitary Dignity Programme. Members will recall during our last meeting, we met with Team Free Sanitary Pads, and there was outstanding information that we needed from the department. That information has come through, and Ms. Abrams, our content advisor, will just quickly take us through that information. Then we will start with a briefing by our content advisor on the recruitment process. As I've indicated, the deadline for applications was last night, midnight. We have received thousands of applications, 1,479. They will take us through the applications, the data, the geographical spread, and also the processes that we will follow going forward. We will then engage with Dr Tembe from the Parliamentary Legal Services, supporting the institutions, supporting democracy. He will speak to us in terms of a legal opinion that I had requested for our portfolio committee. I will speak to that in a bit before we get to the presentation. We will then look at our minutes and our draft programme before we close the meeting. Honourable members, that is our draft agenda for the day. May I ask if anybody would be able to move for the adoption of this agenda, and a seconder with those amendments of moving the minutes and the draft programme to the end. Honourable members, over to you. I see the hand of Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to all on the platform. I wanted to move adoption of the agenda. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Adams. Honourable Kanyile.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you. Good morning to colleagues. I'm sorry, I'm having a very poor network this side. I second the mover of the adoption. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honourable Kanyile. I saw on our platform that Ms. Abrams had problems connecting, or she had problems with her audio, but it is now her opportunity to speak to us. Oh, firstly, sorry, Mr. Mdumizweni, can you please tell us who's in the meeting, and also just table apologies if there are any?
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone who's part of this meeting. Chair, people who are part of, members who are part of this meeting are yourself, Honorable Shabangu, Honorable Achauge Adonis, Honorable Peterson, Honorable Kaula, Honorable Gasa, Honorable Adams, Honorable Spies, Honorable Dr. Tembe. So those are the members who are part of the meeting who are present currently. So for when it comes to apologies, Chair, we've got an apology from Honorable Tsotetsi, who's currently in a meeting. In fact, they are conducting interviews for the Human Rights Commission with the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture. And we've also received an apology from Honorable Machi, who's in Gauteng with the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs for oversight purposes. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mdumizweni. Can I ask whether Ms. Abrams, our content advisor, is now ready just to give us that feedback information that we received from the DG of our department on the sanitary dignity framework? Ms.
Good
Abrams?
morning, Chair. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. My laptop is acting up, so I've logged in via my phone. Am I audible, Chairperson, and to members?
We can hear you very clearly.
Okay. Thank you so much. If we could just
Sorry, Honorable Chair. I'm Honorable Khwekana. I'm here, but they didn't mention my name.
We apologize, Honourable Member. You are noted and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Because I'm using my phone, I'm just going to ask VABA Committee Secretary to have the letter shared on the screen, please. And that would be the letter from the DG for our Department, Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, so that members are able to see that, and then I will talk to it. So if we can just increase it, VABA, for members to be able to see better. Thank you. The letter was addressed to Chairperson, and it relates specifically to the outstanding matters pertaining to the Sanitary Dignity Program and children's disabilities. The letter indicated that the department presented on the program on the 29th of October, and at the end of the presentation, the committee asked the department to provide the Sanitary Dignity Implementation Framework and school sanitation backlog in provinces. The above three documents have been attached to the response. The follow-up letter from the chairperson dated 31st of October further added the request, which must have probably arisen after the department presenter was excused from the meeting, namely the list and names of all schools in provinces that are recipients of sanitary pads. That information would have to be sought from provinces because we do not possess such detail. The department interests itself with the number of schools per province and number of schools reached or unreached, and follow up on reasons why and address that specific aspect. We do not have a ready list of names of each school in provinces. You can imagine how many they are. We further wish to offer the Honourable Hanele from Mpumalanga the contact numbers for the official for the Department of Social Development that you wish to interface with on more granular matters of the program in that province. And then the official is Ms. Mazabuko, the details provided. The same desire was indicated by the Honourable Adams from the Northern Cape, of which we offer the name of Ms. Kumalo from the Department of Education, details provided. On our inquiries, and Ms. Rikwana about her inquiries about KZN, and the details provided for Ms. Koza. I hope the above is in order. Chairperson and members, that was the response from the Minister in relation to the outstanding matters that the committee had requested for in relation to the Sanitary Dignity Programme. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Abrams. Honourable members, I do not know if you want to interact with this report, but in particular, it mentions 3 members that had sought information. Unfortunately, the response is suggesting that honourable members have to do further investigation themselves. So I do not know if members want to interact with this report at this moment, or whether you would leave your comments for when we meet with the department next week during the second quarter report. So honourable members, if there's anything that you want to add to the responses we received, Honourable Kanyile, or over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I please reserve my comment for the next meeting? I do believe that I have 1 or 2 things to say, but it's not going to serve any purpose if I raise them in this platform where the department is not even in presence. I'd like to say something. If you can please just allow myself to have something to say in the next meeting. Thank you very much.
No, that is 100% Honourable Kanile. I think also we as a committee, we have flagged the sanitary dignity framework as something that we would like to investigate and interrogate further in the new year. I think we all raise concerns around the issue of the free state, where not a single sanitary pad is being delivered. There are issues around the fact that provinces are not spending the money that is allocated to them in terms of purchasing these sanitary pads. And so we as a committee in the new year, I know we spoke about various interventions, but in the new year, we will have to call various departments and look at some of these challenges. But you are more than free to raise your issues in the next meeting with the department next week when we meet on the second quarter. Thank you very much, Honourable Abrams. I just thought, members, since we do get these, we ask for the information, and when we do get the responses, I think it's important that we just take a few minutes as a committee to look at the responses and to engage with the responses we get from the department, so that it doesn't get lost in our paperwork or in our emails. Honourable members, as I've indicated, maybe just let me start by saying that, as I've indicated in the beginning, the applications for people who want to be part of the new National Youth Development Agency board closed last night at midnight. The current term of the current board ends on 30 November, so it's 11 days from now. Members, I had hoped, as I had previously indicated, that we could expedite this process. In other words, I had hoped that we could meet this week to shortlist candidates, that we could keep the names of the shortlisted candidates up on our website for a week, and that we could do the interviews next week, so that we could leave Parliament with a report on our preferred or our names that we are proposing to serve on the board before we leave Parliament or before Parliament rises in December. That, unfortunately, I then sought a legal opinion to see whether we could limit the amount of people we interviewed to 12, and whether we could shorten the process of publishing the names for 7 days only, and whether that would be possible from a legal point of view. I had done so, honourable members, because it had come to my attention that not only is the board leaving on the 30th of November, but the NYDA is also, as they indicated to us previously in our last meeting, they are seeking the services of a new chief financial officer. It then subsequently came to our attention that the NYDA is also seeking to replace its CEO. So members, when a board is no longer in place, the CEO naturally becomes the sole accounting officer. And now with the NYDA losing its current board, possibly losing the services of its CFO and its CEO, and with the regression in the audit finding that we saw with the NYDA, it then becomes quite a concern that there might be issues around stability at this public entity. So I had sought a legal opinion to see whether we could expedite the process in terms of our interviews and our shortlisting. Unfortunately, some of the ideas in terms of shortening the process does not comply with the framework or the guidance that Parliament would like to give us. Of course, we need to allow for adequate time for public participation. We, of course, need adequate time to shortlist the candidates because we need to work through 1,479 names. There are duplicates. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to our content advisor and her team, who will talk to us about the data in terms of the applications that we have received. And from there, I'm going to ask Dr. Tembe, and I hope he is logged in by now, to speak to us about the legal opinion that will be that framework that will guide our processes going forward. So I'm going to give over to you now, Ms. Abrams, and from there I'm going to give to Dr. Tembe to speak to us, and from there I will open the platform to members to engage with the two reports. Thank you, honourable members. Over to you, Ms. Abrams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Again, I'll ask Mvaba just to share on the screen the document called Overview of Process NYDA Appointment with today's date. The document is divided into two components, the narrative as well as a flow chart at the end, which is a summary of all the key issues in relation to the process for the NYDA. Mvaba, are you able to share that document, please, before I commence?
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, thank you, colleague. I'm sharing it now.
Thank you, members. I'll just have a moment until the document comes on the screen. Thank you. Members, would you like to have the document increase in size before we continue? Or is that fine? Okay. So the introduction, members, just gives members again a background as to how we have come about initiating this process. The committee received the letter from the Speaker of the National Assembly on the 26th of August, highlighting again, as Chairperson's noted, the board's term of office comes to the end, the 30th of November, and the request was for the committee to attend to the matter. Members are reminded that the board is constituted of 7 members, 2 of whom are executive directors. At the time when the Speaker wrote to the committee, the Speaker indicated that 1 board member had resigned in May, so there were 6 board members left. On the 10th of September, Mr. Tembe briefed the committee on the legal implications around the appointment and the matters pertaining to the proclamation of the National Youth Development Agency Act. That was proclaimed and gazetted and came into effect on the 18th of September 2024. And based on that, the committee had agreed they'll wait for the gazette so that we use the latest Act 11 of number 11 of 2024 to proceed with the recruitment process. The advertisement ran from the 20th of October to the 18th of November, last night until midnight. That's 30 days. And again, it was to ensure adequate time for youth to apply. Applicants applied via link online, so everything was automated. By midnight last night, the committee had received 1,479 applications, with plus or minus 70 duplications. So the duplications are instances where an applicant applied more than once. And there are many reasons for that as we have gone through the initial Excel sheet. It could be that in the first instance, the person applied and realized they forgot to add something, so they reapply again. And how we know it's a duplication, because we can see on the ID number. In other instances, there's a duplication because there was 1 digit missing in the ID number, but all the details still remain the same. So on average, the committee would need to go through 1,400 applications. After my presentation, Tasneem will go through members a sense of these applications we received, how many are males, females, and from what province. But for now, I'll focus specifically on the process. So we've received the referral, we've had our initial meeting, we've done the advertisement. The next step is focusing on the shortlisting. So today, as chairpersons indicated, Dr. Tembe will take members through the legal opinion, which talks to 1, the number to be shortlisted, and 2, the duration for the public commentary. So the issue about the public commentary is that when members shortlist, if you members would go for what has been legally recommended, 18 candidates, that the 18 candidates, the summary of their CV should appear on Parliament's website for at least 14 days. The meeting scheduled for the 29th of November, which is next Friday, will be the opportunity for members to come to the meeting with their list of preferred candidate names. At the end of this meeting, members would receive an Excel spreadsheet with all the information of each and every applicant, with a number assigned to the applicant and the timestamp. So in other words, if I, Kashfa, applied on the first day at 5:10, and I'm the first person that applied, I would get a number N1, and you'd see the time of which I applied, and all the information that was completed on that application form would appear in the Excel spreadsheet. Chairperson would talk to members too about matters pertaining to confidentiality and the Excel spreadsheet. The reason we have given allocated a number next to an applicant is for the meeting of the 29th. We would advise that when members shortlist and give the names, the number is used instead of the name of the applicant. And again, that is just to ensure matters pertaining to confidentiality. With respect to the public commentary, in the previous process, in terms of what the committee had previously done for the recruitment for the board, the public commentary ran for 14 days. The shortlisted names with the summaries will be placed on Parliament's website from the 3rd of December. So if we take 14 days, member, it will take us to the 16th of December, which is a public holiday. And given that there's several public holidays in December as well as on the 1st of January, our suggestion is that we best run the opportunity for public commentary up until the 15th of January. So that would just safeguard the committee from ensuring that there's really adequate opportunity for the public to comment on each list, on each shortlisted candidate. So as opposed to just the 14 days, we're suggesting from the 3rd of December up until the 15th of January for public commentary on the shortlisted candidates. And in that time, also to remind members, whoever is shortlisted, the qualification will be sent for verification through Parliament's Human Resource Division, and that this State Security Agency will be responsible for vetting. So in terms of the shortlisting, and the decisions required by the committee would be to decide on the number of candidates to be interviewed or your shortlist. Again, to agree to the duration of the public commentary for shortlisting, bearing in mind it's the summary of the CV that would be posted on Parliament's website, in which civil society, people from the public can comment. And again, with the public comments, like we did with the application, we can have an automated system where if you, someone goes into Parliament's website and they see the shortlisted candidate, they click on a link and they insert their comment in relation to a particular candidate. With respect to the interviews, members, if we go with what the legal advisor had suggested in terms of 18 to be shortlisted, the interviews that can then be conducted over 3 days. 7 on the first day, the second day, and on the third day, we do 4 interviews. Previously, members, in terms of what we had done before the committee, there were 6 structured questions posed to every candidate with a time slot of about 45 minutes per candidate. Sign language interpreters were made available across the 3 days, and interviews were broadcasted live on Parliament's TV channel, which is on DSTV. Most interviews were conducted in person, but concessions were made in instances where candidates requested to be interviewed via online platform because they were not able to travel to the respective venue. Furthermore, the candidates that were interviewed were also scored based on their responses to the structured questions posed. The scores were then tallied for each candidate at the deliberation stage and ranked in terms of persons who scored the highest versus the lowest. That formed the basis for the committee selecting the candidates to be recommended to the president, who then ultimately makes the decision of who to appoint. Again, the decisions required by the committee to decide on the number of interview days, whether you want in-person and or virtual interviews, the live broadcasting, the allocated time slot for the interview 45, whether members would want structured or unstructured questions, and if so, a minimum of 6, as well as whether you want to score or not score. Then with respect to the deliberation takes place once all interviews have been conducted. Again, this is an opportunity for members to decide whether candidates are to be recommended to the president for appointment. In the previous round of recruitment, the committee had recommended the top 17 candidates to the president based on their performance during the interviews, skills and experience, and demographic profile that is representative of the country. The other issues considered by the previous committee included gender parity, women and disability. In addition, the previous committee proposed that it would be ideal to have 4 females and 3 males appointed to the board, because the board, again, as to reiterate, consists of 7 members. Once the committee has deliberated and agreed on the candidates to be recommended to the president, the names will appear in the committee's report, which then has to be adopted and ATC'd. So in terms of decisions required by the committee, it would be the number of candidates to be recommended to the president, and again, the date for the adoption of the committee's report. And then lastly, once the committee adopted the report and it's ATC'd, it then gets debated in the House. Just in terms of time frames, we know the State of the Nation's been allocated for the 6th of February 2025. Usually the budget speech falls about 2 weeks after that. So in terms of the actual times for when this report will be debated in the House, we'll have to wait for the programming committee to finalize the first quarter. So members, I'll take you now just to the summary. Again, we've done the referral, the initial meeting, the advertising, the shortlisting criteria. Dr. Tembe will take members through now. The selection of candidates will be done by the committee on the 29th. Public comments, that's again where they comment on the shortlisted candidates based on the CV. The summary of the CV, bearing in mind that each candidate would have submitted their own summary of the CV, and that would be posted on Parliament's website. 3 December to 15 Jan. In that time, State Security does the vetting and HR does the verification of qualifications. Interviews, whether you want structured or unstructured, or whether you want to score, if it should be done over 3 days between the 27th to the 29th of Jan. Deliberation, post the interviews can happen on the afternoon of the 3rd interview day, as well as the 30th of Jan. The adoption of the report, we need to just confirm a date. And again, just in terms of the debate for the House, that would, in all likelihood, happen in February, once the House convenes after the State of the Nation address. Chairperson members, that in summary gives you an overview of the process. With Chairperson's indulgence in the committee, I'd just like Chairperson members to ask Tasneem to come on to talk through members in terms of the amount of applications we receive, what our demographic profile is looking like. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abrams. Can we then hand over to Ms. Matthews to give us that data?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, members and colleagues. So as Kashifa explained, this morning we received our final number in terms of our candidates that have applied. and we received 1,479. But of that, there are duplications, as she explained. So because we haven't cleaned the data yet, we've just received it this morning. We have approximately 1,409. But once we clean it up, we'll have a proper final number. But our analysis, Crystal and I had done yesterday, is based on the clean data that we received yesterday, which was at the time was 1,217 applicants. When we work with data, we ensure that the data is clean, so there's no duplications and there's no errors in terms of the data we look at. So I want to present the clean data so members are able to get an idea of what our demographics look like. So when we looked at it yesterday, the gender was nearly even in terms of male and female. We had approximately 50.4% versus 49% male and female. So the higher number was for females. We had negligible numbers in terms of people who identified as non-binary and queer. We had about 7 applicants who identified as non-binary and 1 who identified as queer. In terms of our race demographics, the largest proportion of our applicants are identifying as Black African, and that was nearly 95% of our total number of applications. And that was followed then by colored applicants, Indian, white, and then other. So then in terms of employment status, a large proportion of our applicants are, well, at least 39% at the time of this analysis are unemployed applicants. 32% were employed, 14% were students, and then just under 10% were self-employed. In terms of provincial spread, the largest proportion of our candidates are coming from Gauteng. That's nearly 50% of applications, followed by the Western Cape, and then followed by KZN and then the Western Cape. Those are the top 3 in terms of provinces. Every other province are just under 10% in terms of applications. In terms of persons with disabilities, we've received 40 applications for people with disabilities. So just to remind members, this is based on...
Ms. Matthews, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I see that there's a hand of Ms. Adams.
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies. Let me just hear that hand. Ms. Adams, Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
I can, Honorable Adams.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to ask, is there no a presentation that can be flagged, because it's impossible to follow?
I do have a document I can flag. It's just it's a preliminary findings, but I can do that so members can see it visually. It's not a problem.
Okay, I think that is better if you can do that, Ms. Matthews.
Sure.
Just so members can follow, please.
I'll do that.
Thank you. To proceed? Yes, you can see that.
Okay. Today.
Thank you, Honorable Adams.
Okay, for some reason I'm not able to see, but it doesn't matter. So just in terms of persons with disabilities, we have 40 applicants. So they members can see based on what's presented on the screen. Those are based on yesterday's numbers. And what was interesting, I suppose, in terms of findings, based on yesterday's numbers versus today, we had a surge of applicants, which was just about 200 people who have applied just before midnight last night. So the data that we have received today will be cleaned up, and then we will also look at the final demographics. But these numbers are based on clean data. And so members can see the gender, race, employment status, and province where our applicants are coming from. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you so much, Ms. Matthews. Before we proceed, I want to check if Dr. Tembe has joined us. Mvaba? Okay. If Dr. Tembe has not joined us, I know that he's also engaged with the process at the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and...
Sorry, Chair.
I'm going to ask Ms. A. Oh, yes, Mr. Mdumizweni.
My apologies, Chair. Dr. Tembe has indicated that he's still in that meeting, but he will join us in the next 15 minutes.
He will join us in 15 minutes.
Yes,
Okay.
Chair.
Honorable members, I think what I will do in the meantime, I'm going to ask whether you have got any questions or want to ask any questions of clarity at this point in terms of the two reports that you have received. There are also questions that Kashifa, Ms. Abrams had put before us, but we will deal with that in a minute. Let me just see if there are any hands at this point. Any questions of clarity? Honorable Spies?
Hi, good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to our staff. Maybe I have missed that, Chairperson. I've heard that the suggested shortlist is capped at 18 candidates, and so I need to just understand whether that suggested 18 candidates is justified considering the large pool of about 1,409 or more or less applicants received. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Spies. In fact, that is the question that I had asked in the legal opinion. I had asked 3 questions. I asked about the number of candidates that we should shortlist. Then specifically also about the issue of the timeframes and how long we should keep the names of the shortlisted candidates on our parliamentary website. It is in fact the legal opinion which Dr. Tembe will speak to that suggested 18 names. However, it's for this committee to decide if you feel that considering the fact that there's 1,476 young people that have applied to serve on the board and you would like to increase it, nothing stops us from doing that. But I see 2 more hands, so I'm going to ask Honourable Adams and then followed by Honourable Shabango. Honourable Adams?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just have one question or clarity. Is there any of the previous board members who apply or are they not allowed to apply again? Thank you.
Honourable Adams, I actually also wanted to ask that question to Ms. Matthews about how many of the current board members have reapplied. Honourable Adams, members that are currently serving on the board are serving for their first term, so they are eligible for another term and can reapply. So it would be interesting, or it would be good information to receive to see whether they've reapplied or not. We will ask Ms. Matthews just to check that in the meantime for us. Over to you, Honourable Shabango.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. You know, we appreciate the presentation by Ms. Abrams and Matthews on the stats of the applicants. But at this stage, it's a bit difficult or tricky to ask questions before Dr. Tembe presents, because one is looking at his presentation, then looking at the number of candidates, like the other Miss Honourable Space asked. You know, you can have 2,000 applicants, but when you shortlist, when you decide on the number, because I was thinking that we're looking for 7 candidates. If we double the number plus 1, that will be enough. Because, I mean, you can shortlist 50, but, I mean, you're looking for 1 candidate. It's pointless. But if you go through the CVs, you just decide on the number, double the number plus 1, then we're done. I was thinking around 15, but I'll wait for the next presentation, because, I mean, increasing the number, I've been to interviews where you need 1 candidate, then you have 2,000 applicants. You just double the number, then plus. But anyway, it's just a suggestion. I'm just thinking loud. And also when it comes to questions, because we will still be advised, I think, on that report, you know, it's good to have structured, but or maybe mixed, structured and unstructured question. Reason being, you don't want, I mean, we're human beings. You do those structured questions and then at least if they are mixed, you know, like one question or two questions that will be talking on leadership or management, but it's unstructured. That will be my input. But like I've said, that it's a bit difficult before we get that presentation by Dr. Tembe. And then, okay, the one that, because I was looking at the steps that Matthews presented, I was interested to also see if the members that are on the board, if there are some that have applied, but maybe that will also bring some prejudice. I don't know, but I thought maybe it will be included because they are eligible to apply if maybe they are those that applied. Thanks, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I also see the hand of the Honourable Gaza. Honourable Gaza, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to honourable members and the officials. My question is based on the public comments. I just want to check the information that will be displayed on the website of those shortlisted candidates, whether it will be their CVs, or I just want to understand the type of information that will be displayed and that will inform the public to comments. Thank you. I'm not sure whether I'm clear, but I just want to know the information that will inform the public to comment on those shortlisted that will be displayed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Gaza. I think just to go back, I think Honourable Shabango is right. We should, obviously make all the decisions around how many people we are shortlisting, whether it's structured or unstructured questions, once we've dealt with Dr. Tembe's report. So we will do that following his legal opinion. I think, Honourable Gaza, I'm going to ask either Ms. Matthews or Ms. Abrams just to tell us exactly what goes onto the website in terms of the information that we are publishing. Can I just hand over to Ms. Abrams or Ms. Matthews? Ms. Matthews, also, if you've got any indication in terms of whether the previous board members have reapplied, then we can also get that information now. Mam Kaula, I did see your hand, Kapisa. I will come to you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Tasneem, you can go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, just in terms of the current board members that have reapplied, yes, we do have 2 of the 7, which is the current chair and one other, Mr. Ndlela. Those are the only 2 that have reapplied, but they are all eligible to have reapplied. But there's only 2 of the 7.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Matthews. And then in terms of the information that is published, did you answer that? Sorry.
Yes, Chairperson. So part of that application form, the online one that each applicant had to do, there was a specific question right at the end to provide a summary of their CV, and we requested them to highlight specific items. So each candidate had submitted that summary, and it covers everything in relation to their educational status, background about who they are, and the like. So in terms of what the public comments, it's exactly what the applicant submitted in terms of their summary. So what would be on the website is what the applicant would give. Nothing would be changed in that regard. But what we will check is to comply in terms of the POPI Act, that before they put that CV summary on the website, we'll make sure that there's no ID numbers, no telephone numbers, and no personal addresses in that summary. If there is, the Mbaba and his team will just ensure that that particular information is blanked out. But the summary would be exactly as the candidate submitted. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abrams. Mamkola Kapisa, it's your opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. Youngest.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, and my colleagues and our content advisor. No, ngithakuvumelane lana no Honorable Shabang. Nakule ama questions. Nale nayo ukuthi mark shortlist akwenziwa abantu abaningi beze banikezwe ithemba. Ukuthi kufuna kubhekwe nalapho isibalo ukuthi sizokwenza kanjani. Kunoma silo siqoqa abantu abaningi. Enye into eshayayo thina ezike abantu abamnyama. Although sazi thina ukuthi khona lento ye-mother tongue. Noma ungayifunda enye language like English. Khona mhlawumbe umuntu ombona ukuthi leyo nto engakwazi ukuyenza ukuyiphendulile kodwa ngenxa ukuthi ube kumista kancane ukupronounce igama nge-English bese sizomfailisela lokho yabo. Mina bengizocela zonke lezo zinto mangabe sesenza asikubheke nalokho ukuthi lana inhloso yethu kubona i-youth nayo ingabonzi igcile ezidakamezweni. Sifuneka nayo siyibhekelele ikwazi ukuyongena lapha kuyibhodi yenze umsebenzi ukukhulula i-youth yakubo. Ngiyabonga, Chair.
Ngiyabonga, Mama. That is noted. Okay, so I see our content advisors and Mr. Ndumuzweni. I see that Dr. Tembe has not logged in yet. So I'm going to ask Ms. Abrams to read through his legal opinion that he provided to the committee. And then hopefully he will be in order to answer the questions that we will be ready to ask him. Ms. Abrams, can you just open the report? Ms. Mduweni,
Sure.
could you just give Dr. Tembe a call and just to tell him that we would like to proceed with this report?
Thank you, Chairperson. Mvaba, if you could just have Dr. Tembe's legal opinion screen so that members are able to follow, please. Thank you. It was dated 2024, 11/12. Thank you. So just on the first page, members and Chairperson, the opinion was sent to Chairperson for our committee from the Office for the Institution Supporting Democracy, which is OISD, with respect to the appointment of the NYDA board members. The Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, the PC has requested an urgent legal advice on the correct process to be followed in recruiting members of the NYDA. Specifically, advice, the request is on the following. Firstly, the committee intends to shortlist 12 to 14 candidates for 7 positions on the NYDA board. Considering the large number of applications anticipated, she asked if it would be legally sound or discretionary for the committee to do so. Secondly, considering the very tight timeframes of the committee intends publishing the 12 to 14 shortlisted names on the parliamentary website for public comments for the period of 7 days only. The question is whether the shortened time frame is legally permissible, considering that only 7 candidates will be shortlisted. With respect to the background, the term of office of the current 7th board of the NYDA will expire on 30 November 2024. In consequence, the Speaker on 9 October 2024 referred the matter to the PC for consideration and report in terms of the NA rules. Thereafter, the PC on the 22nd of October issued an advertisement in the print media and parliamentary website calling for individuals and organizations to nominate suitable candidates to serve on the board. The closing date for the application is 18 November 2024. In terms of the legal framework, Section 57(1)(b) of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act number 108 of 1996, provides that the National Assembly may make rules and orders concerning its business with due regard to representative and participatory democracy, accountability, Transparency and public involvement, Section 59(1), also provides that the National Assembly must facilitate public involvement in the legislative and other processes of the Assembly and its committees. Section 9(1) of the NYDA Amendment Act number 11 of 2024 provides that the board consists of 7 members, 2 of whom are executive directors appointed by the President on recommendation of the National Assembly. Section 9(3) of the NYDA Act of 54 of 2008 provides that members must be appointed in a manner ensuring participation by youth in the nomination process, transparent and openness, and that a short list of candidates for appointment is published. Section 9(4) further provides that members must broadly reflect the demographics and geographical spread of the Republic. With respect to the application of the law and an observation, would it be lawful or discretionary for the PC to shortlist 12 to 14 candidates for the NYDA board positions? The NYDA Act, as amended, only prescribes 7 board members, which 2 of them are executive directors. It does not prescribe the number of candidates that may be shortlisted to fill these vacancies, but that depends on the decision of the PC whether they want a small or big pool to draw for the interviews. The PC has a discretion on the number of candidates to shortlist for interviews. Where a committee is vested with powers to enable the things to be done, a measure of discretion or choice is implied. What is reasonably incidental to the proper carrying out of an authorized act must be considered as impliedly authorized. A provision stating that the power conferred by legislation to perform an act must be read as impliedly conferring all powers that are necessary for or incidental to the performance of the act. This means the PC, which must shortlist and conduct interviews, has got powers to determine the numbers of shortlisted candidates. At common law, public power carries with it a duty to act in the public interest. The advantage of discretion is that it enables general rules to be fleshed out with detail where necessary, allows gaps in law to be filled, and introduces an essential element of flexibility to what would be otherwise be rigid rules. In CASU, the committee has to flesh out in a transparent manner its processes for the appointment of the board. However, the discretionary power of the PC must be reasonable and justifiable in law, having considered all the prevailing circumstances. There must be justifiable reason for the number decided and how it is going to be used to reach the desired end, rationality principle. In Democratic Alliance versus President of South Africa, the Constitutional Court held that the principle of rationality applies not only to the merits of a decision, but also to the process by which such decision is made. The test for rationality asks whether the means chosen to achieve a particular purpose are rationally related to the purpose for which the power was granted, and everything that is done in the process of exercising that power forms part of the relevant means. The issue of discretion is buttressed by Section 57 of the Constitution, empowers the NA to make rules and orders concerning its business with due regard to representative and participatory democracy, accountability, transparency, and public involvement. Chapter 5 of Parliament's Model on Public Participation sets out the principles, goals, and objectives of public participation. However, this discretion is not carte blanche, as Section 9(4) of the NYDA Act, as amended, sets the base of a number of factors to be considered when shortlisting candidates. The Act prescribes that the composition of the board must broadly reflect the demographics and geographic spread of the Republic. For practical reasons, it is advisable the PC shortlist 18 names for interviews. This shortlist has to factor in the statutory criteria of demographics and a geographic spread of the Republic, which is composed of 9 provinces. The shortlisting of 18 names for interview would better enable the PC in compiling the extended shortlist to comply with the representativity requirements of Sections 9(4), namely broadly demographics and geographic spread. The board comprised of 7 members, but the NA is at liberty to recommend 1 or 2 extra names as reserves in any case of the recommended candidate declines the offer or appointment. If it's prudent that they comply with the statutory criteria outlined above for shortlisting to increase the pool of human capital to draw from the interviews and possible recommendations. Is it legally permissible to publicize the shortlisted names on the parliamentary website for a period of 7 days only? Parliament's mandate is to facilitate public participation or involvement in its processes remain central. It is noteworthy that the words public participation or involvement are used interchangeably in the Constitution, legislation, and NA rules. Parliament is the coalface of this recruitment process, and publication on its website is proper. A unit responsible for public participation in Parliament should play a key role in assisting with the coordination and liaison with civil society groups. In addition, such a unit must ensure that there is sufficient involvement of the general public through publicizing scheduled committee meetings. Public involvement in democratic processes primarily intends to influence the decision-making process that reflects the will of the people. It is imperative that this principle of public participation be understood within the constitutional architecture of South Africa, and the purpose it serves to answer the vexing question of timeframes. The Constitution asserts that South Africa is a constitutional democracy country that upholds representative and participatory democracy. In a representative context, the members of Parliament represent the views of the elected, whilst in a participatory democracy, the public is actively involved in the decision-making process, such as lawmaking and oversight. Section 59(1) and 72(1) of the Constitution places the duty of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces, respectively, to facilitate public involvement in the legislative and other processes. While Section 118(1) does the same in respect of provincial legislatures. These are enforceable duties and not mere constitutional flourishes, as demonstrated in the Matatiele municipality versus President of the Republic of South Africa. In Doctors for Life International versus Speaker of the National Assembly, the Constitutional Court held that the right to political participation in international law includes the duty to facilitate public participation in the conduct of public affairs by ensuring that citizens have the necessary information and effective opportunity to exercise the right to political participation. The duty to facilitate public involvement in legislative and other processes of legislatures is therefore a manifestation of the right to participate. As statutory delineated public participation therefore includes the duty to facilitate public involvement in legislative and other processes, the duty to conduct the business of a legislature in an open manner and hold plenary sittings and those of the committees in public, and the duty not to exclude the public or the media from sittings of the House or committees unless it is reasonable and justifiable to do so in an open and democratic society. In King and Others versus Attorneys Fidelity, Fund Board of Control and Another, the Supreme Court of Appeal gives the content to the concept of public involvement. It defined it thus, in terms of public involvement is necessarily an exact concept with many possible facets, and the duty to facilitate it can be fulfilled not in one but in many different ways. Public involvement might include public participation through the submission of commentary and representations, but that is neither definitive nor exhaustive of its contents. The public may become involved in the business of the NA as much as by understanding and being informed of what it is doing as by participating directly in those processes. It is plain that by imposing on parliaments the obligation to facilitate public in its processes, the Constitution sets a base standard but then leaves Parliament significant leeway in fulfilling it. Whether or not the NA has fulfilled its obligation cannot be assessed by examining only one aspect of public involvement in isolation of others, as the applicants have sought to do here, nor are the various obligations Section 59(1) imposes to be viewed as if they are independent of one another, with the result the failure of the one necessarily divests the NA of its legislative authority. The court in Doctors for Life explained the meaning of public involvement and gives guidance on what is expected of legislature in fulfilling this obligation. Facilitation of public involvement in the legislative process therefore means taking steps to ensure that the public participates in the legislative process. That is the plain meaning of Section 72(1)(a). Furthermore, it indicated that the legislature have a significant measure of discretion in deciding how public participation will best be facilitated, while
Recording in progress.
is whether what has been done is reasonable in all the circumstances. Furthermore, although the measures required by the Constitution may vary from case to case, a legislature must act reasonably. What is important is that a legislature has taken steps to afford a reasonable opportunity to participate effectively in the lawmaking process. One doubts that 7 days will be sufficient opportunity and therefore reasonable enough for effective participation. Parliament's model on public participation is specific. An appropriation bill, the stakeholders should know that they have approximately 1 to 2 weeks to make a submission to the committee. In CASU, the public has to be informed through a media statement issued by the committee. The PC has to broadcast its processes live and also use the social and print media pages to inform the public about the need for their involvement in this process. Meaningful public participation must ensure that the appropriate stages of participation are utilized. A public participation process should therefore provide for stages of participation that are commensurate with the level of public interest. Here, the focal point should be on the youth interest. Effective public involvement encourages two-way communication with a focus on consideration of public inputs, interests, issues, and concerns. In terms of the conclusion for the legal opinion, the PC has to use its discretionary powers. It is important to realize that the holder of discretionary power never has a completely free hand. To act with discretion means to act wisely and after due reflection of the subsequent provisions of the Act as a whole. In our South African context, the Constitution places constraints on broad discretionary powers. Parliament has a responsibility to give members of the public and interested parties reasonable opportunity to make their views known. In view of the jurisprudence, the NA has a duty to act reasonably to ensure that civil society is involved in the appointment of commissioners, board members, and other office bearers of OISDs, which is institutions supporting democracy. Commentators note the quality of work of institutions depends very much on the quality of individuals appointed to these bodies. Active and meaningful participation of civil society in the appointment processes may result in the appointment of more suitable and qualified candidates. Sufficient time should be afforded for shortlisted candidates to be published for public comment. In terms of the recommendations with respect to the legal opinion, it is recommended that, firstly, the PC on women, youth and persons with disability and PC on women, youth and persons, what was left out was with disabilities, should consider shortlisting at least 18 names to factor in the demographics and geographic spread of the Republic. This would also cater for recommendations to the President. Secondly, the PC shortlist for at least 2 weeks in the parliamentary website and other institutional, social and print media pages to grant the public sufficient time to scrutinize credentials and academic qualifications of shortlisted candidates. We accordingly recommend the above in order to avoid possible future legal challenges in the NYDA Board recruitment. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abrams, for reading that legal opinion. I know it was a little bit lengthy, members, but I think it's very important that we undertake this process within the legal framework that is required, and so that we do this the process in a proper manner. We need to obviously make sure that we appoint the most suitable, most professional, most talented young South Africans to this board, but we also have got frameworks within which we need to operate. And I think in the beginning, Honourable Speech said, well, is it justifiable that we're only listing 18 candidates when we've received so many applications? And Honourable Shiwangu says again, well, in my view, we need 7 board members, so we double that plus 1. and we get to 15. And I was of the view, I was aligning myself more to Honorable Shabango. But honorable members, we have now been joined by Dr. Tembe. Dr. Tembe, we did welcome you earlier. We thank you very much for the support you have given to the committee so far. We know that you have been involved in many processes as it pertains to appointing NYDA boards. Members had indicated that they would like to engage with you in terms of the legal opinion and also just to ask you your questions of clarity. So we welcome you, Dr. Tembe. Thank you for being with us this morning. Honourable members, that is the legal opinion. You've also received the reports from our content advisor and from Ms. Matthews, our researcher. Can I check if there are any hands for questions to Dr. Tembe at this stage? If you can just raise your hands. Honourable Shabango.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this lengthy report. I missed something because I was following and as the report was being presented on page 2. Because now I've followed up to the recommendation, I thought maybe there'll be something about participation by youth. I didn't understand that well, but with the report, I don't have questions or except on that page 2. I'm okay with the recommendations, and coming from the legal advisor, I think we'll be on the safe ground to actually take those recommendations. As much as I was thinking around 15, 18 is also not bad. Otherwise, we increasing the numbers above that, it will be really it will be a futile exercise. Otherwise, 18, I'm fine with all the recommendations. But there's on page 2, there's something that, I read, then I couldn't follow. Participation by youth. If maybe they can clarify that, forgive my slowness in understanding. Yes, that exactly that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Dr. Tembe, maybe you can just come in at this stage if there's anything else that you would like to add in terms of the legal opinion and maybe just to answer that question for us. Welcome, Dr. Tembe. Dr. Tembe, I see you have logged in.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I think I haven't joined by audio, sorry. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable members and fellow colleagues. I'm sorry for being late. Actually, I was engaged in another meeting on the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture, where I was dealing with the issue of the appointment of the PANSA board. So there are issues there. So the meeting almost went beyond. But on the issue at hand, perhaps that is the legal opinion that we provided to this committee. On the question that has been raised by Honorable Shabang on participation by the youth, and the Act says participation by the youth in the nomination process. So, which means the Act grants freedom or opportunity for the youth to participate in nominating the candidates, not for so in the preliminary stage. For as the advert went out, it says individuals or organization nominating the candidates. So perhaps that is what the Act intends, or what the legislature, when it formulated this Act, this was the legislature's intention. So I think at that stage, the youth had participated, But since our kind of democracy, it's direct, participatory, and also as provided in Section 57 of the Constitution. So it's also representative. So in the aspect of public participation, that is another aspect of participation by the youth in the processes. I hope I'm clear. If there are any issues, I can take it further than that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tembe. Honourable members, can I ask if anybody else would like to make any further inputs or ask questions of clarity to Dr. Tembe while we've got him? Okay. I don't see any further hands, but Dr. Tembe, I wanted just to get your guidance in terms of the following. I have described to the committee that, of course, the board's term ends at the end of November, so on 30 November. But we have been informed that the NYDA is also advertising for the services of the CFO and the CEO. Am I correct, Dr. Tembe, that once the board leaves or their term expires, the sole accounting officer then becomes the CEO? And when the CEO is also departing, it raises serious questions in terms of the handover process, but also the stability at the organization. So I wanted to ask you a question in terms of the committee and our oversight responsibilities. What options are open to the committee? In other words, should we try to see if we can persuade the CEO whether he's able to stay on for a few months in order to oversee the handover process? And if that is not a possibility in terms of legislation, if we look at the PFMA, are there any mechanisms that can be put in place to ensure that there's a smooth handover or transition? Because at this stage, there will possibly not be a board at the NYDA for 6 months or so. So in order just to give this committee a little bit of comfort, that of course we are working within legal frameworks, but there are challenges, and we are meeting with the NYDA on Friday. So as I see it, that we've really got two options. We try and persuade the CEO to stay on to manage a handover process, or B, in terms of legislation, the PMFA, what type of measures can be put in place? For example, are there officials from Treasury or from our own department that can be seconded to the NYDA to oversee this process? So maybe if you can just give us some guidance in that regard. Then secondly, I wanted to know whether the committee, in terms of, again, its oversight responsibilities, whether we are now to write to the Speaker or the President just to inform them of our timeframes, the process that we will undertake, as well as the concerns that we've got with regards to the leaving of the CEO and CFO. Maybe you can just speak to that. But let me just hand over to our whip of our committee, Honourable Chauke Adonis, to also just make some comments before I give over back to you, Dr. Tembe. Honourable Chauke Adonis.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Can you confirm that I am audible?
We can hear you, Honourable Whip.
Thank you very much. And I would like to appreciate the legal opinion and also the presentation that has been made, taking us through the processes of appointing the NYDA board, and also the inputs that have been made by fellow members of the Portfolio Committee. And I think I've been largely covered, even by yourself, Chairperson, in terms of what I wanted to raise. And I think one of the things that perhaps I'd also like clarity from Dr. Tembe on would be in terms of our jurisdiction. And I think this is what, and the jurisdiction of the minister, in terms of now we know that the board term is coming to an end. And in the Amendment Act, if I am correct, the provision for an extension of the board, but it gives provision for an acting board. The responsibility of that recommendation, who does it lie with? Does it lie with us as a Portfolio Committee, or does it lie with the minister, or where does that responsibility necessarily lie with? And then second to that, I think, Chairperson, and what you spoke about in terms of what can we do in terms of extending the duration of the CEO, perhaps for a 6 months period, just to oversee the transition from the outgoing board into the newly appointed board as well, just in order for us to have stability in the agency as well. I think most importantly is to know in terms of our jurisdiction, our limitations, and the powers, where they lie in terms of the portfolio committee, the ministry, the minister, or the department itself. That's where I would seek clarity according to the Amendment Act. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Whip. Yes, Dr. Tembe, I think we are concerned about stability at the organisation. You know, as you are aware, we've seen a regression in the audit finding. And then, you know, it's one thing for the committee, which is also a new committee, to undertake a process to appoint a new board. But we are mindful then with the CFO and the CEO leaving, that it poses unique challenges possibly in terms of stability at the organisation. And of course, it is our responsibility to oversee that there is stability. And so I think also in line with the questions that the Honourable Whip has asked, whether you can just give us guidance in terms of what processes we can look into. So if we can just hand over back to you, Dr. Tembe.
Thanks, Chair. Just a second, bear with me. I'm just opening the act. But basically, the starting point, I see the amendment. It says to be correct, but let me start from the PFMA before coming into, because now it means I have to reconcile the PFMA with the NYDA Amendment Act. But basically, the starting point on the PFMA, which is section 49 of the PFMA 1, it says every public entity must have an authority which must be accountable for the purposes of this act. 49 subsection 2 says if the public entity A has a board or other controlling body, that board or controlling body is the accounting authority for that entity. Or B doesn't have a controlling body, the CEO or the other person in charge of the public entity is the accounting authority for the public entity unless specific legislation applicable to that public entity designates another person as the accounting authority. Then 49 subsection 3 says the relevant treasury in exceptional circumstances may approve or instruct another functionary of a public entity must be the accounting authority for that public entity. Then subsection 4, the relevant treasury may at any time withdraw an approval or instruction in terms of subsection 3. Subsection 5 says a public entity must inform the Auditor General promptly in writing of any approval or instruction in terms of subsection 3 and any withdrawal of one of the approval in terms of subsection 4. So that is previously before this amendment, which means then the Treasury could appoint another functionary to be the accounting authority of the board. So now with the amendment, which says where the it's an amendment to section just bear with me, Chair. It's amendment of section 10 subsection it's subsection 8 subsection 9. It says the president must designate one of the members of the interim board as the chairperson and another person, both of whom shall be executive members of the interim board. So, but here is the
recording stopped.
Actually, what happens here, the situation provided in section 8, it says where the board is no longer correct due to vacancies
Recording in progress.
resulting from mass resignation or there are unanticipated delays in filling the vacancies, the minister shall A, make a recommendation to the president to dissolve the board. That is not the present case. B, manage the appointment processes of an interim board in the prescribed manner. C, recommend candidates to the president for appointment to the interim board. So actually, the powers are delegated to the minister in terms of subsection of subsection 8B. It says manage the appointment process of an interim board in the prescribed manner. So that is not within the jurisdiction of this committee. That powers are delegated to the minister in terms of the Amendment Act. Or alternatively, then the NYDA in terms of the PFMA can go with subsection it's 49.3, where it says the relevant treasury in exceptional circumstances may approve or instruct another functionary of a public entity must be accounting authority for the public entity, which means there must be an application made to the treasury. That application may be made by the NYDA. So because it says then it may approve or and instruct another, because NYDA has to make an application to the treasury that currently we don't have a board, or we also do not have the CEO. So there are two options available for this lacuna or for these exceptional circumstances. It's either the minister designates, manage the appointment process of an interim board in the prescribed manner, or secondly, now the NYDA applies to the treasury for another functionary to be appointed as the accounting authority in the interim. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tembe. Honourable members, can I ask if you've got any more questions of clarity? I think it's then very clear that, Dr. Tembe, that when we meet with the NYDA on Friday and we cannot convince the CEO to extend his stay at the NYDA, you have then clearly outlined that either it is that the NYDA could apply to for another official of a public entity to act as the chief accounting officer at the NYDA, or the minister might exercise her prerogative and discretion to then institute a process that will lead to the appointment of an interim board while we finalize our work. Am I correct in that summary?
Yeah, absolutely correct, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tembe. We really thank you very much for your legal opinion and for your guidance. I think this should give members some comfort that there is a plan A, B, and C in terms of what we can do to ensure stability at the NYDA. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. I think we will, of course, engage with you as we embark on this very important process. So thank you very much, Dr. Tembe. Ms. Abrams, I want you to go back to the document so that we can just go through all of the resolutions that the committee must take in terms of how many people we want to shortlist, in terms of the advertising or keeping the names on the website, in terms of our proposed dates for interviews, whether we want structured or non-structured questions. So maybe if you can just give us that as well. Honourable members, after this, we will go to the program. The program, of course, will indicate that this coming Friday, we've got a special meeting with the NYDA to discuss with them the handover process and also the vacancies that we've just been discussing. Then next Friday, which is the 29th, we've got a special meeting to shortlist the candidates for the NYDA. In that meeting, it will be a physical meeting in Parliament. It will be at 10 o'clock. Members will get all the details. When we are done with this meeting today, honourable members, the support staff will be sharing with you the Excel sheet with the 1,400 candidates that have applied to be considered to be appointed to the board. I want to make the point, honourable members, that we must be mindful that the information in that document is confidential, and therefore we cannot share that information widely on WhatsApp groups or with friends or family. The Excel sheet that you will be receiving is for your perusal only, and you should then obviously make sure that you go through the document, that you identify your 18 candidates, and that when we meet on Friday the 29th, that you come with the numbers that are allocated to each name. So for example, Liesel van der Merwe might have a number N016, Honourable Shawango might have a number N018, and that we then come with the numbers that are attached to your preferred candidates that should be shortlisted. Of course, I understand that political parties would want to consult one another on the names, but please do so in a responsible manner. We've got the POPI Act. We cannot just be sharing that information in the Excel sheet widely. So please do keep it confidential and consult within small groups or within your whippery, but it's not to be mass distributed. We don't want that information out in the public domain. Just go up. Okay, so shortlisting. I take it that honourable members are okay with us shortlisting on the 29th. And as we have indicated, I will just summarize following the legal opinion. We will shortlist on the 29th of November. It will be at 10 o'clock at M46 in Parliament. We will come with our 18 preferred candidates, which we won't come with the names. They will be listed to or tied to a number. We will then publish the information. The shortlisted candidates will then be published on the parliamentary website from 3 December to 15 January. And this allows for adequate public comment, as our legal opinion had emphasized. We will then, honourable members, possibly, but I think when we go to the program, I will speak to that, but we will possibly then meet in Johannesburg, but we have not applied for that, for interviews to take place in Johannesburg, but possibly for it to be done in Johannesburg so that we can also tie it with oversight. And those are the proposed dates. It's 27 to 29 January. Honourable members, there was also the question around whether we want structured or non-structured questions. I'm sure, I think we can go with the proposal that Honourable Shabango made, that it should be structured, but that members can also ask unstructured questions when it's needed. And also members, I think as much as our interviews will be in person, when there is a request from a candidate due to a variety of reasons to be interviewed via Zoom, that we should be able to make that possible as well. So, honourable members, that is then the crux of what we've agreed to today. I hope members are okay with shortlisting 18 candidates. Honourable Spies, are you comforted in terms of the number that will be shortlisting? Or is there anybody else that want to? Honourable Spies?
Chair, no, I'm not really, but you know what? I'm not going to be the stumbling block in this. We want the best candidates.
Yes.
And to me, and I'm not a I'm not a forerunner or a person who promotes, a list that is just bulged unnecessarily. But I do believe we should just make it 20.
Okay.
2 more, it gives us that sort of leeway, and that's it. And maybe committee members can maybe agree to that, but that is just where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Spies. I personally see no problem with us shortlisting 20 in the interest of fairness, and because, like the Honourable Spies says, we do want the best candidates to be appointed to the board. It is a very important project or undertaking that we as a committee will embark on. So really 20, I don't see a problem with that considering the number of applications that we received, but I will hear from honourable members. I see Dr Tembe is also still with us. Honourable Adams, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, mine will be on the questions for the interviews. I heard what Chairperson is saying, that the questions can be structured by the committee or the department or who else wanted to assist us. But the other thing is, from my experience, we was assisted for the questions which was structured, and that in that interview, it goes very well because we decided who takes which question. But when we have our own questions, it will be a problem because the interviewer will ask, but why do they ask me that question and for the other one that question? So for me, I will propose that we will be assisted to structure the questions for us to be equal in the panel to ask the same questions to each and every candidate. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Adams. Before I go to Honourable Spies, I'm also in favour of structured questions because I think it will allow us to cover all the questions that we need to ask in terms of, them speaking to the Act and their experience. But because the interviews will be live on TV, we will have to, if we now say we want 20 candidates and we do the interviews over 3 days, we will have to have structured questions for day 1 and structured questions for day 2 and structured questions for day 3. Otherwise, the candidates who are being interviewed on day 1 will obviously, the candidates who are being interviewed on day 3 will have an advantage in that they would have been, seeing the live interviews taking place, they're seeing the questions being asked, and they're seeing obviously which members asking which question. And then obviously, they've got an advantage because they will be seeing what members are asking, what the responses are. So we'll have to have 3 sets of questions, structured questions, if members are okay with that. And I see Honourable Jasmine and also Honourable Adams are happy with that. Honourable Spies, over to you.
Oh, sorry, Chair. No, I'm covered by Honourable Adams with the structured questions, and I know it was a combination of structured and own questions. What I've seen in previous processes and interviews that I've been involved in Parliament is you do not have control over what a member will ask as their own question. And sometimes you find those questions being sometimes not justifiable or unfair towards one particular candidate as opposed to another candidate. And that to me causes actually real concern. And I think we must just stick to the structured ones, because where do you limit what that question is? Because you cannot anticipate what I'm going to ask. And I might have my own reasons for asking a particular question, or a candidate to expand on a particular question. So I think we must just, stay away from that approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honourable Spies. Honourable Gasa.
Thank you, Chairperson. I am also in support of structured questions, and to avoid unfairness, I'm also in support of 3 sets of questions for each day. Also, I don't see any harm with 20 candidates to be shortlisted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Honourable Gasa. So I'm hearing from honourable members that we are happy with the approach. We are shortlisting on Friday the 29th. We will be shortlisting 20 candidates. We will keep... Oh, sorry, Dr. Tlhape. So my apologies. Please proceed.
I can't raise my hand. I wanted us to stay to 18 because it's been done before. Because what you don't want is when you have only 500 candidates, are you going to reduce it from 20 to 14 because you only have 500 candidates? Because 18, it's double the number of posts plus 1 plus an extra 3. I would resist the temptation to say because we have so many applicants, we should take it up. Next time we have 10,000, are we going to go to 40?
Thank you, Doc. I wonder if... are you still on the platform, Doc?
Yes, I'm still on the platform.
Please proceed. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that my contention would be to stick to what has been done before, what legal advice says, and stick it to 18. Because if you make it variable, you're creating challenges where it looks like it depends on the number, but we are not using a formula. It's just a feel-good thing. And I'm just concerned about that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tlhape, for that input. I see again the hands of Honourable Gasa and Honourable Spies.
Thank you, Chair. For purposes of us moving forward, Chair, I can live with 18. I don't want that to, as I said, if that is what the committee wants, let's move forward and let's accept that it's 18.
Okay. Honourable Mabel, I see your hand. Honourable member, your hand's up. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Honourable Chair. What I want to know, what will be the criteria of reducing from such a big number to 20? I think that thing is very much important. What will be the criteria to come to that number, 20? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Honourable Shabango, your hand is up.
Honourable Chair, I don't know. As much as we have to discuss and agree on this recommendation, but honestly, we cannot be held up by the number of candidates, because this is not the first time that the Parliament is to do the interviews, and as recommended, it has been done before. And 18, I think it's a very sizable number. As much as we have so much, a list of applicants, but 18, it's even more. And when we shortlist, I think comrades will, my apology, the honorable members will then, some of us will be there for the first time, but the process when it happens, that shortlisting process, because it doesn't mean that other candidate CVs will not be checked through. That 18 will come from this long list of applicants. So I think we must take the recommended, the 18 is fair, and then we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Shivango. I agree with you. We will stick to the 18. I see Honorable Paula, your hand is up. I'm going to ask, just for the benefit of our researchers.
Chair.
Yes, I'm listening. Please, sir. Please proceed.
Yeah, nami ngibona ukuthi u-18 ngangiyibona inkinga yakhe, siqhubekeleni lo 18 kuphela sazi ukuthi bonke laba kwaphela mase sinezela inamba le nto izobe sifuthi sesigili i-right le number le bengicela mina ukuthi sistike kulo 18. Ngiyabonga.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu, Mama. So your proposal is between 16 and 18. Honorable Speakers at 20. As Honorable Shivango had said, we cannot delay going forward deciding on the number. And so, yes, 18 is the number that we have decided on as per our legal opinion that we got. Honorable Mabel, your hand is up again.
Yes, Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Honorable Chair, I'm not denying the number. I think my question here is very clear. I'm not denying the number 20 or number 18. What I want to know, a criteria that is going to be used to come to that number. It's very much important what criteria is going to be used.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mklonishwa, my apologies. I was going to ask Ms. Abrams, I was just going to finish the point to say that we are resolving on 18, that we've resolved on all the other processes, but I'm going to ask Ms. Abrams, and I was coming back to the question that you had asked. I want Ms. Abrams just to, because she did have it in her report, just to speak to you, to us again, to sensitize us about the criteria that we will be keeping in mind as we go and do the work for shortlisting in the next week. Ms. Abrams?
Thank you, Chairperson. Dr. Tembe was going to cover that in his legal opinion as it relates to the Amendment Act. So I don't know, Herman, if you'd like just to go through that specific section in the Amendment Act to highlight to members the criteria to be applied. If we can ask Vaba, are you, or Herman, if you have the Act, and we can share and you can highlight specifically the criteria. Thank you.
Dr. Tembe, are you still able to help us with that?
Thanks, Chair. I'm just caught off guard because I was on the other side. So the Act, I do have the Act, but which means somebody has to draft something or just amend what had been used previously. So I'm not sure which of the document which the committee will prefer, whether to amend what has been used previously or to craft something new based on because it needs to be amended because there's now an amendment to the Act. So definitely it needs to be tweaked. So I need to point that thing out. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, let's do it like this because our content advisors, our content advisor and our researchers will be circulating the Excel spreadsheet to members, which have got the applications of all the candidates. And I think then with your indulgence, Honourable Mabel, we will then circulate the amended criteria with the names. So members will be receiving in their emails the list of 1,400 names in the Excel spreadsheet to consider, and then you will be able to compare it with the amended criteria that Dr. Tembe will be assisting us with. I hope honourable members are comforted with that because you've got more than a week to consider the names that will be shortlisted as we're only meeting on Friday the 29th. I hope that's okay, honourable members. Okay. Colleagues, thank you very much, Dr. Tembe. Thank you very much to our team. I think it was a very comprehensive report, and I hope all of us are now, we've received all the information that we require to enable us to start this process. Honourable members, before you leave, I'm not going to detain you later than 12 o'clock, hopefully. I just want us to quickly consider our draft. Mr. Ndumizweni, if you can just flight that. And then we need to consider our minutes as well. So I need 15 minutes more of your time, please, honourable members. Just scroll down, Baba, please. Honourable members, we had our
recording stopped.
Please just go back, please, Mbaba. Mbaba, we need to just go back to the program. I think Mbaba's been kicked off. Ms. Abrams, is there any way you can help us?
Chairperson, I can talk to it. I won't be able to share the program.
Okay.
If that's fine, I can until Mbaba comes back to us. Unless Tasneem, do you still have sharing rights to be able to share the latest program, please?
Yes, I do. You can speak so long. I'll try and flight it in the meantime.
Okay, I'll just wait until the program is up. But
yes,
in terms of the next meeting, Chairperson and members, it would be this coming Friday between 10 and 12:30, if I'm correct. It's an online meeting. It's the urgent meeting with the NYDA for us to receive feedback and the handover report from the board to get an update around those vacancies and filling of the vacancies for the positions of the CEO and the CFO, as well as Chairperson's indicated, really important for us to get feedback in terms of that qualified audit findings. The committee had very specific recommendations in the BRR of what was expected, and the AG had also committed along with the NYDA in terms of what they would do. So part of the handover and the meeting and the briefing of Friday is to get that all of that information. That is this coming Friday. The next meeting scheduled is for Tuesday, the 26th, and that should be with the department. The primary focus is around 3 key items. One is to look at the feedback around the Sanitary Dignity Program. 2 is to receive a briefing from the department around the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The committee received a referral via the ATC that it's now expected to commence, thank you, Tasneem, on the 26th of November. Yeah, so the 26th of November, as I've indicated, is to talk to the issue of the council, get a briefing from the department in relation to that. With the onset of the 16 days of activism, we also thought it prudent that the department informs the committee as to what the plan is for 16 days. And then thirdly, the important aspect is a report on the performance in terms of Q2 for 24-25. Then, as Chairperson's noted, Friday the 29th of November, that's an in-person meeting for the shortlisting of candidates. Would be at Parliament M46. And that would take us to the end of this term. I think members go on constituency by the 5th or the 6th of December. So in that time again, from the 3rd of December up until as members agreed today, it won't be the 2nd of January, the 15th of January, we'd have the vetting of the applicants by SAPS. verification by parliamentary human resources, as well as the publication list of shortlisted candidates for public commentary. Chairperson has also noted that to do strategic planning on the 26th of January, the interviews will, for the 18 would then be 27, 28 and 29 of January, with on the 29th looking at scoring and deliberations, and then the 30th for the consideration and adoption of the report, with the 30th is set aside for oversight visit to the NYDA and department. The 31st has also been allocated for oversight visits, but Chairperson has indicated that 1st of February is a Saturday, so that would be amended to ensure that the return home is then on the 31st of January, which is a Friday, and not on the Saturday. Chairperson, I think that is all that you've indicated to us in terms of the parliamentary, in terms of the committee program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Abrams. I would now like to give over to members if you've got any inputs in terms of the program. Members, it's very important to note that Friday's meeting with the NYDA is a special meeting, and as Ms. Abrams has indicated, it is for us to receive that handover report, to talk about the vacancies, and even to explore the options which we explored with Dr. Tembe in terms of the interventions that can be put in place, whether it is for the CEO to extend his stay or whether it's the other options that we've been given. I think the 26th, which is again our last meeting for this year with the department, will also be an important meeting. And of course, then our shortlisting meeting will be a critical meeting as well. So I just need your approval of the draft program. I felt it important just to give you also an indication of what we will be doing in January. It is my hope that we will have some type of strategic session so that we can put our minds together in terms of the work that we would like to do as a committee for the rest of 2025. That we combine a strat session with our interviews and some oversight. So we will be spending about a week together in January. But for now, that is the draft program, which I want to put to members for your consideration, either for your inputs or otherwise I will ask for a mover and a seconder, please. Honourable members? Would anybody like to adopt our draft program? Honourable Spies?
I want to move for the adoption, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honourable Spies. Honourable Kanyile? Angel Kanyile?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. While I want to second the adoption of the draft program, I'm not sure if it is actually appropriate to raise the matter of the petition. There is a petition that relates to gender-based violence that was submitted to our former secretary, I think in July already. And I wanted to request that if it's possible, we have that petition discussed before the portfolio committee on the week where we are doing the 16 days of activism against the GBV on women and children. I'm not sure if that will be doable. I guess Mr. Mvaba will have to follow up on that petition where it's currently sitting, but I do remember that it was submitted to the former secretary and I was CC'd on that email. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honourable Kanyile. In fact, it has been brought to my attention. I am aware of that petition. That petition, unfortunately, does not affect only our portfolio committee, but also has a bearing on one or two other portfolio committees. So it had to go to the office of the Honourable Frolick, and I'm seeking guidance, but I'm definitely working in terms of your request or the request that came through in terms of that petition. So I should be able to give you feedback in the next couple of days. But I am aware of that petition. Thank you so much, Honourable Kanyile. Can I then ask if anybody would you then second the adoption, Honourable Kanyile?
Yes, Chairperson, I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honourable members, let me just check if Mr. Dumizweni is back so that we can approve the minutes. If not, then I will defer the minutes to Friday's meeting. Mr. Dumizweni, are you able to?
Thank you, Chairperson. Unfortunately, I'm experiencing some challenges with my laptop. So right now I'm using my cell phone. I won't be able to connect until I take it maybe to IT today. So I'm not able to share anything right now.
Okay.
So my apologies.
No problem, Mr. Dumizweni. Honourable members, what I will do then, I will defer the minutes to Friday's meeting. So instead of us starting at 10 o'clock, we will start at 9:30 just to approve our minutes. And then at 10 o'clock, we will be starting with the NYDA presentation. I hope members, Honourable Shabango, hands up, followed by Honourable Speaks and Honourable Kanile.
Thank you, Chair. But I wanted to suggest, I agree with you, we can defer the minutes, but I'm thinking that if the minutes can be sent to all the members, so as when we get to that meeting, it becomes quicker, even if the minutes were not flouted, that it becomes quicker that we adopt or make corrections and stuff like that, so as we proceed with other matters of that day's meeting. Thank you, Chair. But it's okay if today we're not ready to adopt the minutes, we can defer to the Friday's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Shabango. Mr. Dumizweni, please will you just make sure that when we leave this meeting that you get in contact with all the members, that you ensure that they've got all the sets of minutes so that they're able to read through it and make their corrections, so that when we start on Friday that we can dispose of all the minutes. It will be very important that we don't defer it again on Friday morning. So on Friday from 9:30 to 10, members will just go through the minutes, approve them, so that we start our 10 o'clock meeting with NYDA on time. Please, I would appreciate that. Honourable Spees.
Honourable Chair, thank you very much. I don't know, we have received all the minutes, all the sets of minutes, as far as I know, it's on the group. That's not my question. Remember, I indicated to you that I am also having a meeting at 8 o'clock, standing committee meeting. So if you do start at 9:30, I might have to apologize because we might not be done, because I agreed with that chairperson that 10 suits me, but I'm in advance saying if I can't make it for the 9:30, I will only be at the 10 o'clock meeting, for the record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honourable Spees. Let's look at it, because we can also start our meeting at 10 and finish at 12 with the NYDA and then approve our minutes. But unless there's a different view, I see the hand of Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to agree with member Honourable Spees. We do received the set of minutes. I think it was on the PC of Women, Youth, Persons with Disability Group. Thank you.
Okay. Members, let me then just ask you to please, if there's any changes or edits or adjustments that you want to make to those minutes that you have received, please alert Vaba so that it's done, so that when we meet on Friday, that approving the minutes don't take us a lot of time, because of course our focus on Friday is the NYDA, the handover process, and for us to manage this handover properly. So we will then, Honourable Speakers, I will see whether we start at 10 and then do the minutes afterwards. I will just consult with all of you in the next couple of days. But honourable members, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being here this morning. You know, this is a very important, it was an important engagement for us to hear from Parliamentary Legal Services, but also now we are in the process. We've received all the applications have closed, and it's now over to us, honourable members, to make sure that we do justice to this process. We want to obviously identify, as we've said before, the most suitable, the most passionate, the most qualified young South Africans to serve on this NYDA board. We are facing a youth unemployment crisis. It is a national crisis, and whoever we appoint to this board will have to have the passion and ideas and vigor to be able to turn this situation around. So really the process that we are embarking on is an important one, and thank you, honourable members, for being here this morning, for all your inputs. And we will then meet again on Friday with the NYDA, and next Tuesday with the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, before we meet next Friday, the 29th, for shortlisting. Well, the Friday. Thank you very much, honourable members. Have a great day, and then we'll meet again on Friday. Thank you, members.
Bye, Chair. Bye, Kapisa. Bye,
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honourable members.
Bye.
Bye-bye, honourable Adams.